super excited about today. I think Joey and I have been trying to get this thing together for like a couple of months at this point. He's a new dad to another baby, so we'll talk about that a little bit. But yeah, just trying to get our schedules to line up, and finally we made it happen. So I think I met you and Megan last year at Lawn Care Life, right?
Yeah, man, we chatted for probably an hour after Lawn Care Life was everybody dispersed. So me and Megan had a really good time chatting with you. We didn't get to have a lot of long form conversations while we were there because we were, a lot of people were hitting up the booth. So, it was nice having I'm more of a get to know you type of guy. So it's nice anytime I can talk for 30 plus minutes,
For sure. So yeah, like I got invited kind of last minute, like, hey, we're having this conference. We'd love to have you there. Came down there as you, Pajak, Paul Jameson, Jason Creel, all the big guys. It was cool. And like last thing, they're like, hey, want to jump on stage and talk? I'm like, why not? Let's do this thing. So it was just cool to.
Paul's talking great about you. He was like, man, this guy, he's got a multi-million-dollar company. He just decided he was going to show up and we were, because it's kind of a smaller business type of thing. Most of the guys there are probably doing under 500K or something. And he was like, man, it was really cool for him to show up and just share some of his knowledge and hop on stage and do some Q&A. So appreciate it.
Yeah, it was really cool. And like I said, we were talking before the show that I'd love to go back this year, but my daughter just won districts and now we're on to regionals. So, and it happens to be the same weekend. I think the conference is Saturday or Friday, Saturday, and she wrestles on Sunday. So nobody could get there and then come back and we got to travel 6 hours. So it's just too much in one day, one weekend. Otherwise, I'd love to go. But yeah, I met these guys at the conference. Him and his wife, Megan, they had a booth in the back. They do bookkeeping. I think it's a landscaping bookkeeper, right? It's a business name. Yeah, so they do bookkeeping. So we hung out after the event, like you said, and just got chatting, became friends, follow each other on Instagram. It feels like we've been friends forever now at this point.
Yeah, for real. I've been following your stories and saw the district win for wrestling. I thought that was just really cool. So that's fun, man. Watching your kids succeed.
Yeah, it's, like I always got super nervous before I wrestled. And I think it's probably normal. Some people don't. I did. I'd have to pee like 15 times before my match, And, but I was like the mindset where I'm just going to go out there and kill you, and she's just not like me at all. She gets super nervous, but she's not have like that warrior mentality yet. Whereas like she's freshman, she's timid still, but it's fun to watch. She's a beast for sure, but excited to go watch her again. Like I can't believe her freshman year's already over. Like, we're a month away, less than a month away, 2 weeks away from state. So after states, her freshman year's over. So it's pretty crazy, but it goes by fast,
Yeah, for sure, man. I hear you. The minute you have kids, it's just a fast forward. I don't know what it is. I remember my first, I wrestled in middle school. I remember just talking about the nervousness and everything. First match I ever did, I'd always been kind of successful, just at the school wrestling. And I remember the first one I did, I got pinned in like probably 15 seconds or something. Like it was super demoralizing. And then after that it was good. But it was just like that first one, I remember how embarrassing that was.
That you get from it, like in front of everyone. You can't blame anyone else. You got to take 100% accountability. Like it's a great sport for a few reasons like that. But yeah, so like it feels like yesterday she was 3 years old. And like, I know you have a 3-year-old and it just goes by so fast. Like it's crazy.
I'm looking forward to them getting older and having that older relationship, kind of like you got with your daughter. That's really cool.
Yeah. And there's just one thing that I just don't ever want to do is miss my kids' stuff. Like growing the business is awesome. I love it. It's my passion. I love what I do, but it's also given me the freedom to make sure that I don't have to miss these things. We built the team up successfully where I can get away and I don't have to miss her stuff. And that's what it's all about. It's not about the money all the time. It's just about the freedom to get away and just make sure you're there for your kids and support them. The same way my parents did for me. Like I travel all over the country wrestling. My mom, my dad, they didn't miss anything. Like I think I remember one football game and one wrestling match my entire career that they missed. So like they look back, like my parents are always there and my kids knowing that, like my dad was always there for me is super important to me,
Yeah, likewise. I'm always looking at what my parents did right, and just trying to build off of that. And so it's just a perpetual getting better each generation. And that's, my dad's always been there for me too. So I really respect that. And it's something that I want to do with my kids.
Yeah, it's cool. It's weird because at first I didn't want her to wrestle because she's your daughter and, like you just think of your daughter wrestle, but I wrestled and my sister wrestled and she always wanted to wrestle, but my dad wouldn't let her wrestle until she was a freshman in high school. And so when she's a freshman in high school, she finally started wrestling. She's badass. She was tough, It was really cool. So I didn't want to take that away from her. So I let her wrestle, and obviously she's been at it since like 2018, 17, 18. So she got some experience in her belt, and she's doing really good. But yeah, it's been fun. But I remember early on, like when she started, like I had these visions of her like winning, matches and winning districts, winning regionals. I didn't know it was all going to come true. Like, but I just envisioned it early on, like her holding like her brackets up. Like it was so cool. Then like now it's like all coming to life. And like you saw like my goal boards from a few years ago with her, like as a kid holding like the brackets. It was just really cool. Like where I wanted to see her go. And we put a lot of work into her and a lot of time, a lot of traveling, but it's been awesome. But going back to goal boards, like something I do every single year with my team is every New Year's Eve is we make goal boards together. It's like our vision board. Every New Year's Eve we do it as a team. So it's pretty cool. Thought I'd throw that out there. Just something that we like to do as a team. We'll write down the houses or the cars or like anything like that you want. Like revenue or whatever. I just like to put it all in pictures. And like say the pictures, I always say 1,000 words. Like every single morning I wake up to all my vision boards. It's pretty cool.
Uh-huh. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I know you recently had a baby. You have a 3-year-old and a baby going on. So how's that been?
Man, it's just like, you think building a business is challenging, and then you have kids on top of that. And it's just like, oh my God, man. Like we've had our times where we were building the business, without kids. And then you throw one. I think our business was half the size whenever my son was born, my first son. And that was challenging. But man, our business, the size of the business is now, and having to have 2 kids with different schedules, sleeping schedules. So just a matter of trying to get our sleep and still keep everything's running, making sure everybody's taken care of. That's been quite the challenge. But I will say we were kind of blessed, and we had the baby in December, which is when our slow season is, because our slow season's in tandem with lawn care. So it was nice. And our business is to the size where we can take time off. So we took 2 months off, and now we're just getting back into it in February. So it's been challenging, but it makes us stronger. I like going through challenging times, and I like stretching the limits of what human potential can do. So it's I wouldn't have it any other way. It's what we've been planning for. So
for sure. Well, congratulations. Was it a boy or girl?
It's a boy. So I got my 2 boys, my dream.
Yeah, that's cool.
We'll see if we cap it at this. I don't know.
Maybe I should have put a boy on my vision board years ago, because I never got one.
That's great.
I have all girls, but I have a stepson that I raised since he was 7, so he's my kid. So it's fun. He's in college playing baseball in Lakeland, Wisconsin right now, so pretty cool.
Awesome.
But then like taking 2 months off, with a baby, the first year for me with babies was always the hardest. Like once they get like 1-2 years old, like it's so much different. Like their own personalities, it's so much fun, and they can kind of tell you what's wrong at that point too. I don't know if you felt the same way, but I struggled.
We struggle. Me and Megan both struggle in the first 3 months. She's not like the nurturing type, and I'm just not. I don't know. There's just not a lot of sleep going on in our house, and so anytime you're sleep deprived, it really it'll break you down.
Yeah, for sure. So, Joey, I have a question for you. If you and I were sophomores, juniors in high school, who is Joey in high school?
Oh man, probably on. So I don't come from a family of entrepreneurs at all, like none for the most part. And I have a really, really big family. My mom's one of 10 kids. So I would say I'm on the traditional path, go to college, get the 9 to 5, doing a lot of what my parents expected, and just the traditional thing, I guess just. And I was never like the all A student. I was kind of like B's get degrees, like that sort of thing, so I don't know. I just never saw the point in like overachieving to the point of where like just getting A's on everything, so just enough to get into college. And I didn't particularly like learning what other people taught me were wanting me to learn. I'm more of a self-learner. So being forced to do that, I never really cared for that. That was kind of me. Is just I liked playing a lot of sports. I grew up on a road with all of my cousins. We grew up on about 300 or 400 acres, and so all my mom's siblings lived on the same road. So I had all my cousins on the same road. So a lot of times I was thinking about what we could do after school. We rode a lot of motorcycles and 4-wheelers, played football in the backyard, a lot of road basketball, stuff like that. So a lot of times I was just there, physically at school, and not trying my hardest, because it never inspired me. I guess I'm a hard person to inspire, which is what entrepreneurship does for me. But just the traditional route, I guess I just felt like I was kind of a rat stuck in a wheel. Anyway, just ended up going to college and doing that whole thing, but I can get into that later. But yeah, I don't know. I guess I was just trying to find my way, and nobody was really lighting a torch in front of me because I didn't really want to do like, what my dad did, working the 9 to 5, but I didn't really see any other way out. So I was very interested in investing because I have an uncle that like day trades and stuff, and so he was the one in the family that had probably the most money because we came from a lot of land but not a lot of money. Because my grandpa actually cleared all those acreage and passed out the land to the kids. He was kind of like the old school, like boots on the ground, like working all the time. He has his own runway that he cleared with his own equipment. And so just we were kind of, I'd say, lower middle class. And so anyway, it just seemed like it was kind of hopeless to get out of. And I just never really, I don't know, I wasn't very, what's the word? I guess it just wasn't inspired. So a lot of it was just finding myself, I guess.
Are you sick of paying marketing agencies and not getting results? Well, we are hosting the #1 step-by-step class on how to attract and generate sales without paying a marketing agency or having a huge budget. Most lawn care and pest control owners get stuck at a ceiling because they're dealing with outdated systems or relying on guesswork waiting for the phones to ring. Our upcoming class this Thursday provides proven strategies to generate hundreds of leads without a huge budget. We'll show you how to build a predictable system to grow past $1 million. We show you how to automate your marketing. We'll also teach you how to delegate and build your team so you have more time. So click the link in the description below. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss this. This is the one thing that I wish I had learned a lot sooner. Now, let's get back to the show. That's cool. And then from college, we'll go back to high school. Like, what sports were you playing in high school? Like, were you super competitive then?
I love sports, and I did wrestling in middle school. I actually went to a private school until 10th grade, and we had an Olympic wrestling coach there. He plays silver medalist, but at the time I was kind of like, I was in middle school, so I just wanted to wrestle. I didn't want to do the form or like work on anything like that. So it was just like I couldn't wait to do the free wrestling at the end after the lesson and everything. So I was just constantly doing that. But yeah, I always liked football, and we didn't have a football program. I didn't start playing basketball until I was in probably 10th grade. And then in 11th grade, I moved over to this like super redneck school. So I went from this private academy to like super, like my family's very country. So, but it was still a little bit of a shock to my system because I'm used to like a very structured, regimented day. And then going over there and everybody's talking about, their deer stand in Alabama or Auburn and like a super lower Alabama. Like, the first thing to ask you when you walk in the door is, are you for Alabama or Auburn? Like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know. I didn't really know how to fit in, to be honest with you, but they did have football. And I thought about playing because I played a ton of backyard football growing up, but I never was in like a regimented one. And we sucked, like all their programs sucked. Like they would go like 0-12 every year. Like, I don't want to practice for 3 hours.
Hard to be inspired to go play sports and every time they're playing, they're losing. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was another thing. And I had such an awesome childhood. Like it was one of a kind for real. Like, so I didn't really want to stay 3 hours after school when I could go home with all my cousins. I had a ton of cousins my age. So I kind of just skipped out on it as much as I did love sports and everything. It is something I kind of regret because I do think that the collaboration and everything is very important, and teamwork and all that stuff. A lot of stuff that I didn't get growing up. But I don't really have any regrets because I had an awesome time hanging out with my cousins growing up, just doing all that stuff we did on all that land and swimming in the river. And like we had a river that went right through the middle of the property. So I don't know if I could live another life, I guess I'd probably get involved in something, but I'm curious of how it would have turned out if I had played team sports, though, for sure.
For sure. And then a couple of questions, like how do you transition? Because you talked about numbers a little bit with your uncle, doing stock trading, day trading. How do you transition from high school into bookkeeping? And then where does lawn care come into play?
Right. Yeah. So I went to school straight out of high school. I went to this college called Pensacola State down here. I got my associates. Didn't really know what I wanted to do. I got like a general associate's degree. And so I wanted to make some money so I could start investing because that's what I really like. I liked business and I had nobody to show me how to do it whatsoever. My uncle did day trading, and that's more, following trends and stuff like that. It's not really like business related. You don't really have to study the fundamentals or anything. You just kind of have to know how stock market psychology works and stuff like that. So I got my associates, and then I was like, I want to build up a cash fund and, go to college, pay my own way through my bachelor's degree. And then also have because my parents were still letting me stay home at the time. So I went and worked at this company called General Electric. I'm sure you've heard of it. I built wind turbines. Yeah, I built wind turbines for about 3 years there, saved up some money, ended up investing like $10,000 and then paying my way through college at the time. And I ended up making my first big mistake with the $10,000 because I was trying to get rich quick, and I didn't really know what I was doing. So I ended up.
So what'd you do?
I put it in like this risky biotech stock. I don't know if you know much about biotechs, but this was before crypto, and like it was one of the only ways to get rich quick was like you invest in like a biotech or something like that. I didn't know how to do options at the time, and so I put it all in there. I bought a lot of the fake PR that they put out, in the pump. I'm sure it was like a boiler room type of operation. The thing ended up going from it was like a stupid, 10-cent stock or whatever. I put it 10 grand. It was ridiculous, right? But I'm 20 years old, don't know what I'm doing. I don't have any mentorship or anything like that. Just totally blow the account up. I'm flat broke, but I did end up getting my degree at the same time. So
that's good.
But I did learn a valuable lesson, so everybody can laugh at me, whatever. I don't care. It was a great lesson that I learned about probably just the value of money, because I think that I wasn't having to really struggle too hard since I was still living with my parents at the time. To make that money, it was kind of like I got to bankroll everything that I made through working at General Electric. So, I think I learned to just be a little more prudent in my decision making with money after that. So, which was I paid $10,000 for that all day.
For sure. And then what did you go to college for? What did your bachelor's in?
It's in business management. So I graduated with that in 2016, I think. What I had done was I took 3 years off to work at the factory, went to college. And while I was going to college, I built decks, and I did tile work and window installation, door installation, and kind of like a lot of small business, blue collar type of stuff. So I learned business at like the giant, multi-billion-dollar company where you can just throw a 50,000 tool on the ground and kick it across the floor and nobody cares, to a small business where we're like watching every single cost every day. And that was quite the mind bend there because at General Electric, nobody respects any of the equipment or anything, because they have so much money coming in. I think at the time we were doing, we were cranking out like 50 wind turbines per week, and each one sells for like $3 to $4 million. So it was one of the really high revenue generating businesses. So we were constantly dealing with pneumatic tools that were custom made to torque these, 1,000 foot-pound bolts and stuff like that. And so a lot of it was just crazy expensive. Then just going from that to the small business, we're working with like these little bitty, tiny DeWalt impacts and everything. And I don't know, it was quite the mindset shift going from being managed by middle management to having like direct oversight from like the owner and stuff like that. So it really made me, respect the growth aspect of what goes into grow a bigger operation and all the fine tuning that you have to do relative to the sloppiness that happens at the giant corporate level.
Right.
So yeah, I don't remember if I answered your question or not, but
no, you did. And then so you graduate from college, okay, your bachelor's business, and then you're working in construction. And then where do you go from there?
I got married straight out of college.
You Megan met at college?
No, so I actually have known Megan for almost 25 years now. We went to that private school together. So I met her in 5th grade. We actually dated I guess you'd call dated, in quotes, for 7th and 8th grade. And then we reconnected in 2016. And she had just graduated and she had been teaching at a school. She was a high school math teacher. So she graduated with her master's in, I want to say educational leadership. So we both kind of got married out of college. And I went ahead and decided I was going to get my big boy job. So I went and worked at the big industry here in town, which is Navy Federal Credit Union. They have like a big headquarters here. And so I was working there. She was teaching. And then we just found ourselves coming home every day and we were just super tired. I was talking on the phones. I was like in the call center, kind of like an entry level spot. I was all talked out. She was all talked out from, working at the school and teaching and managing kids all day. And we just kind of said, after a few months, it didn't take us long. Like after a few months, we were like, hey, let's just quit this. Like, this is stupid. And we'll just figure it out. I think she had found like a start your own bookkeeping business on like penny hoarders or something like that. And so she was texting me all throughout the day how excited she was to start this thing. We didn't know anything, like zero. Like I went to school for business, but I'm convinced at this point, like experience is the best teacher. I didn't know anything about business. Like college is super overrated in my opinion without experience. So anyway, yeah. So we had like a long discussion. We both quit our jobs because I hated it. I actually like doing construction. I like working with my hands. I enjoy being out in the field and cutting up and stuff like that. I couldn't stand being behind the desk. So she was like, let's just quit. So we both just quit. And then
like the same day.
Yeah. So we had done a little planning. I think we had saved up like 6 months of expenses because we were living on like $1,800 a month at the time. Like probably I was spending like $40 a week in groceries collectively. Like we were putting away some money because we were both working. We weren't making a ton of money, but we were able to put away, I think like $2,000 a month or something like that. So we were living very frugally, putting away money. And so we did that for about 6 months. And then we just decided to quit. And so we had like almost a year's worth of expenses saved up because we were only living on $1,800 a month at the time. And so we decided on who would be the better starter of the business was basically what was happening. Who's going to bring in the money while the business is making nothing, and starting that up. And so I think we both I decided on Megan, she decided on me. And I was like, well, I'm more of a big picture guy. Like I had a lot of investing experience. I knew how to spot value and things like that, understand what creates value, but I'm not much of, she's very good at putting herself in back then she was very good at putting herself in uncomfortable situations and starting and organizing things. And bookkeeping is very much an organization type of business. I'm still not organized. Like she's amazing. So she started it and I continued to do, I think I was doing tile work at the time or something like that. And then I would Uber to like 4 a.m. So I was doing a lot of basically whatever I could to get the money coming in until I could come home, that she had started it up. So we did that for probably 2 years. I'm working a lot of hodgepodge stuff, just trying to keep the money coming in. I didn't really want to commit to anybody because I wasn't committed. I was going to quit, anytime. So really just trying to keep the cash flow at least, neutral. And anyway, she ended up starting it. And I ended up coming home. I think we got our first client in at the very end of 2018. And bookkeeping is not like lawn care. You can't just go out and get a bunch of clients and stuff. It's a lot of, it's something that we didn't really know what we were doing. And so we were trying to figure out, it's a lot of experience based. It's a little more harder to barrier to entry, I guess. And so it took us maybe 6 months to get our first client. And you can screw a lot of things up working with people's money too. So you don't want to be not knowing what you're doing and then mess somebody's finances up. So it took us a while to get it going. Do
you remember your first client? And then how did you get the first client?
Yeah, she went to a local networking group, and I think she ended up
BNI or something.
Yeah, BNI. Yeah, and she ended up getting. It was a doctor that she landed, and that was our first one. And we felt like we were big timers, because we had some additional income coming in. I think it was only $500 a month or something like that. But it was it just kind of you know how it is. Getting your first client, it was it kind of puts a fire under your butt. So anyway, it was kind of a slow growth. I think we got 6 or 7 clients in maybe 2019. So we had 10, which it's a low overhead business. You can make a lot per hour doing it because it's like an advisory service role. And so 10 was bringing in some decent money, I think. So right around that time, I think we knew we wanted to pick a niche. That was really important to us because we wanted to be seen as a trusted advisor and things like that. So we had 10 or 15 random different clients, and it was taking a lot of time because each client takes different research and different resources, and you have to learn inventory with one business, and you have to learn, I think we had a nonprofit that has its own thing, complications, and we did end up having one client that was lawn care that he was a really humble dude, really liked him. My family's super country, so I could just talk to him really easily. And I don't know, it seemed like to me, this was a big industry that didn't know anything about finance. And so I felt like we could really help them, and so we ended up, after I think a year or two, we were let's just go all in on lawn care. And so we ended up, that's when we ended up going to Lawn Care Life in 2020 and meeting Paul Jameson. And I think we had two lawn care clients at the time. We were at a lawn care conference trying to speak the talk. So me and Megan watched Jonathan Batochnik literally all the way up to Lawn Care Life. And just listen to how to talk the language and everything, like just understand what per man hour is and all this stuff. And so we were able to talk it a little bit while we were up there. But yeah, Paul ended up approaching us. He's like, hey, I've never seen a bookkeeper in the lawn care industry specifically. Do you want to be on our podcast? And I had no idea who he was. I didn't know he had I think at the time he was like 100,000 listeners a month or something like that. And so we hopped on there. I had no idea what I was talking about in terms of lawn care. I knew a little bit of business, but anyway, it was nerve wracking because he pulled us on the show at the lawn care conference, and I think we went to this little back room. And,
yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, it was my first podcast I'd ever been on. And anyway, I was like, what have I got myself into? Because he's got Mr. Producer, making all the noises. And I was like, this guy is probably pretty big time. He seems like he knows what he's doing. He had a good voice and radio talk show type of voice. So anyway, it was, that was kind of, what really launched us into just doing lawn care, because Paul was able to keep us leads coming in from the lawn care industry, and a lot of really good leads. And it made us really, really profitable because we were only doing one type of service at that point. Before that, we had been wasting a lot of, having a lot of frictional costs, switching in between a coffee shop and a doctor, and we had a cleaning company, and it was just taking so much time to figure out each one. And when we switched to lawn care, our profits started really, really going up and the amount of time we were spending a lot less time doing it. So that freed up a lot of family time, and that was really cool. So that was kind of our entry into lawn care. Yeah.
It's cool. It's just funny how one connection, right, can change the entire trajectory of your business. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's when I started really believing in, I didn't know anything about networking at the time, but when I met Paul, I was like, wow, this is why people talk about stuff and go to these events and everything, is you never know who you're going to meet. And I really started just understanding the power of the network. And it was something that I wanted to put on the back burner because I didn't have a lot of time to do a lot of networking at the time because we were still growing the company. But it was something that I was like, man, I'm going to do a lot of this one day, because it's crazy just doing one. It was it was like a godsend at the time, because yeah, we were still struggling a little bit, with our small little business.
Yeah, for sure. And then just niching down, we've talked about this in the podcast quite a bit, going from offering all landscaping services, snow removal, and just it's so much, and just different equipment for everything. It's a lot. It's hard to focus on one thing and get really good at it. You said you're doing 5-10 different services that just suck at. Majority of them you can't focus. So it's kind of the same thing with you. Once you got laser focus on pest control or fertilization weed control, it's just kind of all in, and that's when the scale happened,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, precisely. Yeah. And now people come to us because we do know a lot about it. If I was constantly talking to painting companies and all these other companies, I wouldn't even be able to keep my headspace straight, but that's literally what we deal with all the time. So I've seen a million different scenarios, what works, what doesn't work. A lot of it's the same thing over and over again after a while. And so it's, you can really position yourself as an authority and charge top rates, and that's where your profits come in, and that's where the scalability happens.
For sure. And then when someone signs up, what does the onboarding process look like? And then what's the first few things that you guys do with the customer? Yeah,
so me and Megan actually have our own separate roles here. Megan does a lot of the onboarding. I do the analysis because that's kind of what my wheelhouse is. Megan does she does all the onboarding. I've done a little bit of it. What we do is, you can go on the landscapingbookkeeper.com and you can schedule a 15-minute phone call. And it's called the Good Fit Call, because we've only want to work with companies that will actually benefit from our services. So a lot of times we're checking on that and making sure that we can help each other. We also want to make sure that you're a client that we want to work with. If you're barking orders at us and I don't know, there's just certain clientele that we know we don't want to work with. Then we'll a lot of times just say, hey, well, we can recommend this company. We'll give them a referral or something like that. But we're really picky with who we onboard. And then from there, if we decide to move forward, we go to a 1-hour consultation, and that's where we gather all your information, and we make a custom proposal for you based on how many transactions you have, how many loans you have, your assets, how many bank accounts, that sort of thing. And so each proposal is custom made to what your specific scenario is. So
is there I don't want to say revenues that you're looking for, but is there let's just say someone doesn't even have QuickBooks set up yet, but they're a decently sized company. We help them get that set up. Or do you not want to work with that kind of customer? And I'm sure you've seen it all. And you said earlier, a lot of people in the blue collar industries not a lot, but majority of the newer companies just don't know a lot about finance,
Yeah. We work with those types of companies. We've really niched down to largely what we do is lawn maintenance, light landscaping, and then some application businesses. We don't really we're kind of getting away from the hardscape type of stuff with the job costing and everything. It's a little bit different business model. We actually started really onboarding companies under 250,000 in revenue. Like that's our wheelhouse. We don't have a traditional accounting firm where we're trying to onboard these big fish and come up with some sort of like CFO services for them or whatever. We really try to teach finance to the little guys and onboard them. So, and what we found is that we onboard them small and we scale together, and then we're kind of synergized together. And so it makes our costs go down, it makes their costs go down. There's not as much information being, transported over since we're onboarding them at $10 million and having all this resource and stuff coming over. It takes so much time. And so when they do get to multi-million-dollar company, they're very much streamlined with our system. And so it makes everybody's costs go down and the communication's flawless. And so, but I saw a big gap in a lot of these little guys getting turned away from the big firms. And I was like, Megan, let's make a business that's totally catered to the little guy.
It's called a blue ocean strategy. Like no one else is doing it. Go in and do it.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, anyway, yeah, that's our model. It's taken some time. I think we started doing that probably 3 years ago, and it works really, really well for us. And everybody wins at the end because I would say we're more of an education-based company than a bookkeeping company. We meet monthly with all of our clients.
That's my next question. Like, what is the cadence for meetings, and like, are you guys tracking KPIs? What are you guys going over?
Yeah, so in the past, me and Megan have personally met with all of our clients. This year, we're handing it off to our employees to do. We're kind of getting out of that role. I'm moving more into like a sales role. I still like doing a lot of analysis, but I'm going to be doing it in group classes instead.
Cool.
Because it's really scalable. It makes the COGS go way down. So, anyway, that way, and I've actually got some really cool team members coming on to help in those group classes too, because my wheelhouse is a certain thing, and I want to bring on guys that are experts in other areas that they're asking questions about. So we have different speakers each month, just depending on what we're trying to learn in the group classes. But that's kind of our model this year that we're switching to. Because me and Megan kind of got maxed out doing meetings, and it was starting to get exhausting. And honestly, I repeat myself in a lot of these meetings. I'm like, why don't I just do this in a group class? I'd get on and say the same thing, people asking the same questions, because a lot of our guys are cookie cutters. So they come with they're all facing the same problems at the same time, So I focus a lot of times since we're dealing with a lot of, we have big companies too that have been with us a while, but the smaller ones, a lot of times I'm going over just how to read the statements, what profitability means, how your COGS work. I'm showing them, saving up 3 months of expenses, or just relative to how much negative cash flow you have each month. You might want to save up that negative cash flow amount per month so it doesn't happen again. You're not trying to dig yourself out of a hole. So I'd say it's a lot of basic stuff, but nobody knows it, and it goes a long way because then they can think on their own. So my whole goal is to get guys to think on their own. Because I don't want to be the person that you're just giving blind trust to, because that's what I did for so long. And I want you to be able to, I don't think any of this stuff is so complex that nobody can do it. I think everybody can do this stuff. It's just not taught in school. And so a lot of that's my goal, is just educating. And since I found that most people can learn anything if it's something that benefits their end goal. And so in school, a lot of times you don't have a goal. You're just kind of learning whatever everybody else is telling you to learn. Well, when these guys know that it pertains to their business, even if it's numbers and they're not good with numbers, they can learn it because it benefits them and it helps them achieve what they're trying to achieve. And so I don't care what your IQ is, you can learn this stuff if it's pertinent to the ability to grow your business well.
Yeah, that's really cool. So on a monthly basis, you're going over their P&L, going over how to read a P&L, cash flow statements. You're just doing things like that, and then every other week you're bringing another speaker, and they're speaking on a different topic. Is that how it works?
That's every month. I go over the P&L. We talk about fixed costs versus variable costs, because a lot of times it takes 6-7 months for these guys to get this. A lot of times, because it's only an hour and they need a review. Sometimes it takes a couple of years to get it, because I'm also, the guys with all the loans and all this money going every which way, that's your cash flow statement. So a lot of times I'm trying to teach them how to read the cash flow statement. We go over that every month. We'll go over the balance sheet like every 6 months or so. I don't go over that every month. I don't find it necessary. But a lot of it is it's a little more simple for guys that run like a no debt business to understand, because it's a lot more simple of a business. But the guys that are using debt and all that stuff, we're looking at sometimes I'll bring in like return on assets and their leverage and all that stuff. What's a healthy leverage within the industry? It really just depends on the situation. We'll cover current ratios and things like that. We can get a little more complex with it, but a lot of times, just covering the basics and common sense, will get you a long way, and hiring the right people and figuring out your core service. And a lot of the numbers, a lot of times will fix themselves just by focusing on some key metrics like that. And then we'll tweak it based on what problem you may be having in your business, or something that you may need to know, a year or two from now. I'm trying to catch cancer before it's there, that sort of thing. So, I just really want guys to think on their own. I love thinking on my own. I didn't really become an independent thinker until I'm 33 now. It's probably 27, 28, because you're just getting out of the rat race, before you can start. And so I really value individualism and independent thought, and I hate groupthink. And so I really just want to meet people where they're at. Yeah,
that's really smart. I like the whole concept of what you guys are doing. Super cool. And again, not a lot of smaller businesses know these kind of things, so that you offer the services for them. Are they sending you like their statements every month, or are you putting in their receipts? Do you guys do all that for them too, or is that something that they do on their own? You guys are just like consultant to it? How do you guys do that?
Yeah. So we're preparing their statements for them. We're a bookkeeping company, so they're sending us over receipts if they want to. We don't require it. And so whenever they come to the meeting, we already have their reports prepared. And so we go over the previous month. We do that from the 10th to the 25th. We go over the previous month. It's really just, it's pretty seamless. Like it's something that they do have to be proactive with. A lot of guys think they can just give it over and then they don't have to think about it anymore. But you still need to be, kind of on top of these things per week, making sure if you want to do receipts, if you want to split your gas between equipment and vehicles, we can customize it for you. It just depends on what their needs are. But we already have the reports prepared, so we just hop on there and go over them real quickly, we also make sure that everything's categorized correctly, because we were thinking about doing like quarterly meetings, because it would free up more time for us, and then it just got too big of a pain in the butt, because we were going back and they couldn't remember what they bought 2 months ago, 3 months ago. And so we're like, let's do it every month. We can get this stuff really, really tight if you show up every month. And it really, I would say the real power in it is accountability, because they happen to come with their numbers every month, and they all really like that accountability factor. So that's something that I just realized recently is these guys really do want somebody that they're accountable to. And that, I'm the same way. If I'm ever trying to stop an addiction or something like that, like I need an accountability partner.
For sure.
So it's kind of the same concept.
Yeah. What's cool that you guys are working in one niche, service industry, pest control, lawn care, doesn't matter. It's like you can see what the better companies are doing, what their numbers are, versus someone that's not doing so well. Like, hey, you can kind of compare the two and say, hey, this is where this company is doing roughly the same size revenue. This is where you should be.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Like revenue per employee or whatever the case is. Yeah, exactly.
It's really cool. And then how did the podcast come along? What made you want to start that? What's the name of your podcast?
It's the Joey Coberly Show. And I got that shout out to Paul. He said, brand yourself. Don't brand the business, brand yourself. And so I took his advice, and it doesn't have a lawn care name, but I'm trying to make it lawn care based. So man, this is actually kind of a deep story. I originally wanted to grow the company to where me and Megan were working 2 weeks a month, doing analysis only, and generating a really good salary. Because the majority of we pay, it's a value-based price. We make most of our money from the advisory services. And then the bookkeeping is taken care of by our employees. So really all we do is analysis and meetings. Megan does some onboarding. And so, I've got a lot of free time on the time that the books are actually just getting taken care of by the bookkeeper. So what I wanted was family time for 2 weeks. Then we hop on for 2 weeks and we do our meetings, and then we have another 2 weeks off. And that was our model for a while. And I don't know, we just kind of thought we could. I think entrepreneurship has changed us a lot. Like originally I wanted to make a really good salary. And we got there with this and invest extra cash flow into the market, because that's what I've always done. It's what I know. It's what I'm comfortable with. It's what I like. I like researching companies. I like reading 10Ks. I'm a weirdo. I like doing all this crazy stuff. I'll listen to Warren Buffett give a speech for 2 hours on some crappy YouTube channel. Like, I'm always listening to weird stuff like that. But I ran into this guy that influenced, or not ran into him, but I read his book. His name's Phil Town. I read this maybe 5 years ago. And he started really helping me see the difference in price and value. And so I started really understanding what makes something valuable to somebody. And he started telling, he's basically a Warren Buffett disciple. He's an older gentleman. He's probably 75, but he really buys businesses that he is passionate about. And so I'd always bought things like that biotech stock like 15 years ago that I bought. That was something, I don't give a crap about biotechnology. I just bought it because I'm trying to get rich quick, So when he started talking about buying things they're interested in, I got really passionate about researching things. Like, I like to wakeboard. I got into, there's Malibu boats, that I owned for a while. I like coffee. Me and Megan, we own some Black Rifle coffee stocks, some Starbucks. Like, we like to research these sorts of things. We collectively invest together. And so I like to buy things that I was very interested in. And so that really changed me a lot. But he's big on buying companies that represent your values and who you are. And I got to like an impasse to where I couldn't find any companies that represented my values like entirely. So that started driving me a little bit crazy. I was like, Megan, I don't want to invest in these companies. They're putting money towards this, that, or the other thing. I don't really respect that. I might like the product, but I don't necessarily respect what they're doing with the money. And at the end of the day, any publicly traded company is under fiduciary duty to make the most profit for their shareholders. So that's what they care about. And it's not what drives me. Like, I think it used to be, but at this point in my life, I really wanted to build something that totally represented me, that was like a extension of myself. And so that's what this company started becoming. I'd say probably 2 years ago. I started seeing the amount of impact that we were having on people, and I thought that was really cool. And you don't get that with investing. You're kind of a third party, away from your money being used. And I find it a big problem in America. People are putting their money in things that they either, one, don't understand, which is like a really scary thought, and then two, things that don't really represent who they are. And so everybody complains about the economy when most people own the economy, and it's just doing things that you're giving it money to do. I didn't want to be a part of that anymore. So I was like, let's just grow a company that totally represents our mission and our values. And so it really became a process of trying to figure out what that even was. What are we about? Because you don't really need to find that out whenever you just invest in a mutual fund or a 401k or even individual stocks. Because I've always ran like a really concentrated portfolio in which I understand, a lot. I haven't done mutual funds and things like that. But anyway, that was kind of the start of it. Is like, I can't find anything that represents me. Like, let's build something that represents us. And so we started trying to figure out how we could scale this thing. Cause I was just like, for a while we were like, we've got the business where we want it. Let's take extra cash flow and invest it. And I think a year or two ago, we just decided that we're going to scale the company. And so I was like, let's go ahead and start branding ourselves, coming up with systems to where we can outsource all of the meetings, and what is a scalable system that's, got good gross margin and things like that. And so a lot of what you're seeing now is the surface, the base that we're trying to build to scale. And so that's really what we're coming into now. And so that's the reason for the show, trying to get my name out there. Eventually, we already have all this in the works, but I'm going to be trying to push our next business that we're starting in June, it's still bookkeeping related, but it's like a bunch of different things that will help guys scale their company. And so that's really what we're moving into, because I don't know, I'm just tired of giving money to stuff that that doesn't represent me. And that's ultimately what it's about. It's not about the money. It's about the why. Right. So that's the reason for the show. I'm going to be, we got a lot of things coming in June. I'll just say that we got some cool partners we're working with. It's not like it's all set up and ready to scale. We got the hiring processes and everything in place, the systems to build. So, hoping to, you can have me on maybe next year and I'll talk about it, but we've got quite the base we've built over the past year, saving up a lot of cash, and things like that, making ourselves more liquid so that we can invest a lot of money into into growing the company instead of putting it all in the stock market.
That's cool. What episode are you guys on right now?
Man, I think we're only on 25.
Hey, we all started there too. Like I remember sitting down our first show just a couple of years ago. Just like, here we are. Don't quote me. I think we started the podcast this way, but like 114 is what we said. And I'm just trying to do one a week. And
yeah, that's great.
And I do a couple episodes a week, and then I try to launch, let them launch the next couple of weeks. I'm not trying to put out 3 a week at this point. Again, my core focus is the business, obviously, like growing that. So that's where 95% of my time goes, and just into that. And then this is just what I love to do for fun. I love networking. I love meeting people like yourself. I love to see what other people are doing, and they're inspiring. And I just love to chat with people. I really do. I enjoy it. If I didn't enjoy this, I wouldn't do it. This is fun for me. So I was like, oh, that's so hard to do it every week. I'm like, compared to what? Like, it's super easy just to sit here and talk to people. And yeah, like I'd be lying if it didn't help create influence in my personal brand, and it has tremendously. I didn't realize the impact that I would have on the industry. I had no idea. I just want to make a podcast because people always said that we were going to do it, and then no one did it. So I went and did it. And I just started talking with all my friends on here that I've made connections with throughout the years, and having them on the show and just chat. And then all of a sudden we were like, I spent zero advertising dollars, zero, never spent $1. And now we're getting, a couple, 3,000-4,000 downloads a month. And it's like, I didn't know that. And then I walk into a pest control conference, everyone like knows who I am. Like, that's weird. It's strange.
That was another reason I started this thing too, is I went to Lawn Care Life and a bunch of the guys there knew me. And I'm like, I'm just a small time guy from Alabama. Like, it was just weird. So because I've been on Paul's podcast, I think I've been on Jeremiah Jennings and all these other guys. And it was just weird, but I was like, this is cool. It's a way to network for free. You don't have to go anywhere. Like, I definitely want to go and network in conferences and stuff, but yeah, I mean, it's a massive way to build your network, and you make real connections with people that go a long way, and and it's fun. Yeah, I was listening to this one show. I'm kind of a weirdo. I listen to like a lot of like UFO type of podcasts and stuff like that. I love all that stuff. And then
Joe Rogan at all?
I do listen to Joe Rogan. Yeah, I listen to Blurry Creatures is a good one too. Yeah. Shout out to them.
Cool.
But this guy was on there. I don't know if you heard him. His name's Richard Dolan, and he was saying that what gives him energy and almost like a purpose, or not a purpose, but what gives him energy was just hopping on these shows. And this was before I started mine. And I was like, you know what? Every time I get off like Paul's podcast or whoever, like, I'm just like ready to go for the day. Like it's invigorating talking to other people in entrepreneurship, because it's super lonely, especially, I don't know how your family is, but I'm first generational entrepreneur. Like, I don't have anybody to talk to about this stuff, other than the guys that we meet with every month. And then Megan, I go to family events. Everybody just thinks we're crazy. Nobody wants to talk about. I'm trying to talk about, really fun, let's grow the community, valuable type of things in the family. And they're talking about, going to just the next vacation or the weather or whatever. I'm like, let's talk about some value we can bring and collaborate together and stuff like that. But everybody's kind of in there. No, I'm not throwing shade on them. It's just the way the American society is set up, is everybody's just kind of in their own little bubble and just working for retirement, So it just doesn't relate to me. So it kind of gets isolating at times.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And like all my friends that I talk to, like on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, are all entrepreneurs that are all out across the country doing the same thing I'm doing. Because again, I can relate to them. I can deal with the same struggles that we're going through, or mentors that have already been through been through the same spot you have, making a call saying, hey, this is where I'm at. This is what I'm doing. What would you do? And like, oh yeah, I've already been through all that. Here's a shortcut. And so yeah, it's the same conversations I'm having on a daily basis,
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. And then I know we're running out of time here. I promised you we'd done by 1, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. But
I've got all day, so it doesn't matter to me. But
like, it sounds like you're still doing a lot of day trading, stock, stuff like that.
I do. So I started off kind of day trading, swing trading. I do a lot of value investing now. And I would say I'm more investing in my own company now. Like, I just started doing that last year.
There's not a better return than your own business, right? An ROI. Yeah, you can get 6% from anywhere else, but you're not going to get 20, 30, 40%,
Yeah, precisely. Yeah. The risk reward is amazing. If you believe in yourself, your risk is really coming down to what you do. It's not in somebody else's hands, not in some board member or whatever's hands. I do a lot of value investing now. Or that's what I did, kind of like your David Dodd, Benjamin Graham style investing. And just finding value where other people don't see it. That's what I really like to do. But in small business, it translates to finding value in people that other people don't see and building a team around that. I mean, you know that with the size company you've grown, but it's very much developing people instead of looking for price and value on a stock ticker or whatever. Because that's what I really, really enjoy these days, is just bringing the potential out of people and saying, hey, we need a position for this. Let's bring this person over and they can fill that spot because I'm not good at it. Megan's not good at it. And then developing that person into that role is really a big passion of mine. And it's something that I think comes easy to me because of all the value shopping I've always done. It kind of translates over. And I've made a lot of the business has kind of gone pretty smooth for us, but I made a lot of mistakes in investing, and a lot of it translates over to mistakes that I would have made in small business. But it's kind of prevented us from making a lot of those big errors because I've already messed up 50 times in investing. So.
Has AI impacted you guys, your business at all?
I'm curious how that's going to go. It hasn't impacted it at all yet. I'm just trying to understand it a little better so I can kind of look for things and start implementing things. But yeah, as of now, and I want to make sure that we don't get too automated too. I want to make sure that people are still dealing with people face to face. I don't want to start, it might be the next outsourcing all the phone calls to India type thing, where I want to talk to an American right now, that speaks my language and that I can communicate with properly. So yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to stay ahead on it for sure. But as of now, I haven't seen any impact on it. I think people still really like to deal with people. I think that personal brand is kind of similar. It's like at the end of the day, I want to know I'm talking to Jonas Olson and not some AI chatbot that pretends to be Jonas Olson. I don't want to watch an AI generated Brad Pitt. Like, I don't know. There's something to that. So I'm trying to figure out the line. I don't think we've had enough human psychology in figuring out what impact it's going to have just yet, but maybe a little bit more than I do, but that's kind of my headspace on it.
No, like we're always trying, right? And see what's working, what's not working, trying the AI bots. We're trying it all, see what's working, how the market's going to react to it. We're always trying new things, testing it here and there, but it's not quite there yet, but it's not going to be far off, for sure. So again, like you were just trying to stay on top of it. So something good does happen that we're not getting, left behind. I see you have a lot of books behind you, so you must be quite the reader. Give me some of your favorite books that you like to read. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Just give us a couple good books you read recently.
Let's see. So I've read a lot of investing books. I'll just go ahead and throw I'm interested in a bunch of topics. So investing, I like Warren Buffett, The Making of an American Capitalist by Roger Lowenstein. That was a good one. He really taught me to think about money at the highest level because I always was like, who's the best capital allocator of all time? It's Buffett by far. Like it's like hands down. So I was like, I'm going to learn everything I can from him. So I spent a lot of time studying Buffett. The guy that I mentioned earlier, Phil Town, Rule 1 Investing by Phil Town is a good one. He also wrote Invested with Danielle Town. That's his daughter. Those are two of my favorites. I'll throw out two more investing books and then I'll go to a different topic. Dondo.
I'm taking all these notes, by the way. I'm writing them all down because I've never read any of them.
Oh, really? Dondo Investor by Manish Prabrai. He's a big billionaire hedge fund manager. I really like the way he thinks about things. He's a good dude. I try and find all the hedge fund managers that I respect because there's a lot of pricks out there. Let's see. I like The Education of a Value Investor by Guy Spear, I think it is. He's another hedge fund manager. And then, man, I think I've seen you post some you're a Christian, correct? I think I've seen you post some stuff like that. So I'm big into theology too. Unseen Realm by Michael Heiser totally transformed the way I look at theology. It's more of it's recovering the way the Bible was supposed to be read, how the original Hebrews would have read the Bible. And it brings a lot of the supernatural into the Bible that is missed a lot of times. And he's a supernatural scholar. He's a very respected biblical scholar, but he actually goes to a lot of UFO conferences and stuff like that. So with all of the emergence of, UAPs and stuff like that, and the challenging of traditional religion, I thought it was an important topic to research. I'm just really interested in it to begin with. But that one was transformational. Learning, because a lot of times I grew up in kind of I guess, a fundamentalist type of Baptist type of thing, where you kind of just you throw verses at people and they're kind of taken out of context, and people spend their whole life around a few verses. And when really you're not, reading it in the correct context most of the time. And so understanding that everything has context and you can't just cherry pick things and throw them out there. And so he really does a deep dive into the contextual parts of the Bible and reading everything in context. So I really like that one. Man, trying to think. Small business books. I'm going to go with Greg Crabtree's Simple Numbers, which is one reason I'm pretty excited to see.
Simple Numbers, Big Profits, right?
Yeah, I like that one. I like Profit First and Pumpkin Plan by Mike McCallowitz. Yeah, if you're starting out, those are good books.
Those are all really good. I have like 6 new books that I can read, so that's cool. Appreciate it.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Walk to the investing books at you all day if you're interested in those. I love that. It's a bummer to me that I'm kind of getting out of it a little bit just from all the value stuff I was talking about. But the passion for it for me is just understanding industries. I like understanding manufacturing industry, coffee industry. Like I just like to read about that stuff, and a lot of that stuff crosses over into what we're doing now. You can learn from the mistakes in the coffee industry that carry over to what we're trying to do. So just, I don't know. It keeps you continually learning too. Like a lot of people, if they're not investing, they're not learning all the time. That's like a big disconnect and I think it's actually a big reason there's mental health crisis is because people aren't continually learning about things that can help them out in life. And so investing does that for me.
Cool. We can put our tin hat on for a second. What do you think? What's your take on the UAPs or last few months?
Oh, man. The last few months, or are you just talking about in general?
Just last few months.
Do you talk about like the drone stuff?
Yeah.
Man, I don't know about that one. That one's just weird because it doesn't like fit a lot of the typical stuff. Like it's not really like, I think there was orbs involved in this one too. But yeah, I don't know. It seems like that seems more technological, like US based or China based or something like that. I don't think it's a lot of traditional. It doesn't fit the pattern of traditional UFOs, UAPs. So I'm going to go with just something they're not telling us. I don't know. I listened to Ryan Graves talk about it on Joe Rogan. That was a pretty interesting one.
That was a really good one. Yeah, really good.
Yeah, I followed Ryan for a while, so it's cool seeing him on there.
That's cool. Awesome, man. Well, like I said, we're out of time, but I just wanted to pick your brain on that real quick. But it was a pleasure having you on. I think we'll have you back on. We'll have to wait till June now, at least. Yeah,
well, give me a year. It's just soft launch is June. We're gonna have it rolling by next year. So
cool. So next year,
I can talk about it in June if you want, but if you want to see like how it's actually
implemented,
implemented, I'd say probably 9 months to a year.
Awesome. Well, I wish I was going to see you this weekend, but I have to pass. But
yeah, man, I'm sure. I'm going to try and do a lot more conferences. I have a lot of my time now is spent on value and growth these days because, like I said, we're doing group classes now, so I have a lot of free time to work on the company like entirely now. So it's going to be a lot of content creation, hopefully traveling. The only tough part's going to be with my 2 young kids. I don't like to leave them too much. So
yeah, but usually for conferences they're only 2-3 days long. I know it sucks being gone, and I talk to my team about it all the time. And I always said, as long as you're out there winning, they'll always forgive you.
Yeah, it's true.
But if you're out there just screwing off, just having fun, it's a different story. But if you're out there and you're going and you're winning, they're going to forgive you. Because ultimately, we know that's all for them.
I totally agree. I was just talking about more. I would do a lot more if I could. So my volume. I was listening to Hormozy and some CEO was doing like 60 in like 3 months or something. I don't even know if that's possible in this industry, but I would do that if I didn't have kids. Like I really would, but I'm not about to do that, be gone all the time. So that's just really where I'm coming from with it.
Yeah, I love it. Cool, man. Well, it was a pleasure having you. I can't wait to hear what you guys are up to next year, and let's keep in touch.
Yeah, man. I really enjoyed it. Thanks for having me on, man.
All right. See you. Hey guys, thanks for listening to another episode of Pest Control Millionaire. We don't charge any money for the show, obviously, but the podcast isn't free. You can pay for the podcast by sharing it with your friends and your family. So please like and subscribe and give us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast app. These things make a huge difference for us. If you have any specific questions you want answered about the business or your life by me or my guests, send an email to info@pestcontrolmillionaire.com. And if you want to get in touch with me about any personal business coaching, check out our website at www.pestcontrolmillionaire.com. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you guys again on the next one.